You're now connected to the meeting. Please state your name for the record. You may start your comments now.
My name is Barbara Betz, and I am here to plead for the Upland Police Department to do whatever they can to assist people that are trying to help us find out what happened to my son. And I think the Upland Police Department totally blew this case back in 1988 when they waited for 4 months before they did anything. We went out on our own. We put our own flyers up. We went door to door. We went and put them on people's cars. The police department didn't do anything for 4 months. And when we have people that get in touch with us and want to help do anything, they always run into a roadblock because it's an open case still. I mean, it's been almost 34 years. I need some closure. His father died not knowing what happened to him. His grandmother died not knowing what happened to him. And I need help from anybody that knows anything or can assist in finding out what happened to my son. An 11-year-old child just doesn't get up and vanish. And I think the police department totally dropped the ball on this one. I really did, as well as torturing my son, my older son, because they badgered him, juvenile badgered him and badgered him and badgered him, with no evidence at all. He wasn't even in the town when this happened. And he was badgered so bad that he suffers from PTSD now. Plus, when the first age progression came out, he looked like his brother, so that he was stopped again. And I mean, somebody called the school the day after he disappeared, saying that he was not going to be coming back to school anymore, that he was going to live with his grandmother in Washington. His grandmother didn't live in Washington. She had moved back to Sacramento. She had lived in Washington. But somebody knows something. Plus, somebody called the police a couple years later, told them that he was buried under our house. We had people in hazmat uniforms and sniffing dogs and stuff for a whole day, going under under our house, the house out back, all over the property. Thank God they didn't find anything. But I mean, somebody knows something. And I just don't feel that the police department did at the time. I know they didn't do everything they could do. And I need help now as much as anybody can to assist in bringing closure to this. I'm almost 73 years old. And I have been dealing with this for almost 34 years now. And it's a nightmare. And I also wanted to find out if there was any way that we could get any assistance with that. I mean, or putting out a reward if we could somehow have your assistance and maybe what's that place online? The GoFundMe or something to put a reward out for information. Oh, it's been so long now that a lot of the people that Stevens was up there earlier talking about re-interviewing people, there's a lot of those people that are gone now. They've passed away. They're not even around anymore. But this has gone on way too long. And I just don't feel that the police department is doing everything that they can to try to close this case. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Betz.
You're now connected to the meeting. Please state your name for the record. You may start your comments now.
Pamela Jean Betz. And I am calling to plead with the Upland Police Department to please help in finding my brother. Since 1988, we have lived with this for over 30 years, and nobody knows anything. Captain Thuvino knew and found out nothing by badgering my 15-year-old brother for 3 hours. And then we, as a family and friends, went out within 24 hours and put out our own flyers because he wasn't missing for 24 hours. After a year, Detective Ed Gray believed he was an endangered missing, and the media didn't want it because it was over a year old. The actions of the Upland Police Department were completely uncalled for. 4 months went by before anything was done. Now it's over 30 years, and with modern technology, you guys, nobody can find out anything. Please, somebody knows something. Come forward. It's time for closure. My mom has the right to know what happened to her son. We lived in that town for over 30 years. She couldn't go into a grocery store without being bothered. Only 4 articles were ever done in the newspaper. Nowadays, a child's missing for 5 minutes and an Amber Alert comes out. It actually took Walmart in Upland to recognize the missing children in that town with a dedication board in memory of my brother. It took Soul Asylum to do a Runaway Train video featuring my brother to get it out there because the police department was so hush-hush. Well, I think it's time the police department do something about it. An 11-year-old just doesn't disappear. Anybody knows anything, please come forward.
Thank you, Mayor Velto, City Manager Blay, and City Council members. My name is Stephen Ondich. I'm here tonight because an 11-year-old Sierra Vista Elementary School student went missing a half a mile from where we are meeting right now, at the southwest corner of Foothill and Euclid, under the watchful eye of the Madonna of the Trail. He was last seen leaving the restaurant where Juan Pollo now operates with an older male sometime after 9 p.m. No one has heard from him since that night. No one knows who he left with or what happened to him. Nothing. That took place on January 20th, 1988. Many Upland residents have no idea this ever even occurred. The boy's name is Shawn Betz. When he disappeared, he was a small child, only 90 pounds. He had a favorite blanket he carried around, like the kind that Linus from Charlie Brown cartoons carried. The night he went missing, he left his blanket at home, maybe for safekeeping, but I'm guessing this was something he brought out around family, just a little more than friends. His mother, Barbara, sisters Pamela and Crystal are listening tonight, as you just heard from two of them. Public information about Shawn's case is extremely limited and vague. Next month, on January 20th, 2022, the 34th anniversary of Shawn's disappearance, the Crime Hound channel is releasing an episode about Shawn's cold case with cooperation from both the Betz family and a former Upland police detective who handled the case. I'd like to propose 4 steps for us to take a fresh look at Shawn's puzzling case. 1, to locate and re-interview all living witnesses originally interviewed in 1988 using 2021 police protocols. 2, to determine the feasibility of creating a composite sketch of the person Shawn was seen leaving the restaurant with. This was never done to the best of my knowledge. Number 3, to publicly release a detailed account of Shawn's activities leading up to his disappearance. And number 4, to make a high-profile appeal to the public for information about Shawn's disappearance. I am certain that countless hours and resources have been devoted to Shawn's case, much more than it appears from the outside looking in. However, working in silence while keeping the public in the dark is a very old Upland way of doing things. When things don't go according to plan, it breeds mistrust. The public perception is that Shawn's case has either been forgotten or is in some kind of bureaucratic purgatory, being reshuffled every few years as kind of a formality. The spirit of today's Upland is one of transparency. We want the good news and the bad news, not just the good news. Getting pictures of recent arrests from Chief Goodman in my Twitter feed makes me feel better about Upland, not worse. I hate that this happened in our city of gracious living, but how we respond to it speaks to our character as a community. With each year that passes, answers get a little further out of reach, and I don't know that we can give them the answers they want. However, I'd sleep better at night knowing that we were doing everything in our power to try. Let's work together to get some long overdue answers for the Betz family. Thank you.
Steve, we'll try to hold it together. This is a tragedy. Excuse me. This is a tragedy in our city. I think about it often because I've lived here 60 years. I remember it as if it happened yesterday. Although I can't tell you I understand how the Betzes feel. I can empathize. It'd be a tragedy for anybody. And I want to assure you, for my family, this entire city, and I say that our hearts go out to you and the family. This is a tragedy. And Upland's changed a lot over the last 34 years. We've seen a lot of development, a lot of growth. We hope there's someone out there that has something. And we hope that we can get an answer for Barbara and Pamela, for his father to have passed and not know. I couldn't fathom it. How sad it is. So, Chief Goodman's here. He's in the back. Would you please meet with him? And thank you for speaking with us.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for your time. Gladly.
After Ralph Cavallo is Barbara